Hi there you scale motorkit lovers and welcome in my super tiny shed. Today we are gonna apply the final weathering layer on the Mini. I have counted and this is gonna be at least the 12th layer on this still so cleanly looking car. So I hereby solemnly swear I won't apply another layer of paint, I think. Oh, and please subscribe yourself to this channel and hit the bell icon for notifications, cause this mini story is far from over. In the last vlog I told you I wasn't satisfied with the look of the door handles. I painted them in a mixture of Vallejo light grey and Model Air chrome, but this made them stand apart from the other chrome parts. So I changed them by painting them chrome only and added rust. Not by salt chipping this time, but by painting small dark brown spots and go over the area around them with orange rust. This method works too, and surely on very small objects. You have more control than applying salt, as you don't know exactly where the salt grains will land. When I walked in my street I saw this Peugeot 206 that is slowly going crusty. I was amazed by how the green metallic paint responds to the rust streaks. In some way it turns very light and bright. As I made a metallic green door on my Mini, I had to experiment with that. So I mixed a tiny bit of emerald green with metallic medium and applied it in the rust streaks on the door. But metallic medium is very thick and also very bright. I dulled it down with orange rust and I know that when I throw my oil paints over them later on in this video, it will for sure be a lot less shiny. I was a bit worried about those decals on the rear window, you know, from the bumper sticker bout. Are they capable of withstanding oil paints? Or will they crumble to a painful misery? I mean, applying those bumper stickers cost me quite a bit of time. Some even consist of 3 decals on top of each other. As all model makers are hopeless control freaks, I sure am no exception and coated them all with a layer of acrylic clear varnish. Ah, that makes me feel safe. Then another insecurity had to be dealt with, painting oil paints over transparent parts, aka the windows. How would they hold up on this material? Will the oils adhere? My Jaguar Mark II comes to the rescue as always and I had a go on a leftover sprue. Application was done using the dotting technique like I did on the interior a few vlogs ago. Just blob on some different dirty colors and blend them later on. I also did experiment with different brushes and techniques, and I had a try with brushing off the paint just as a wiped dirty window would look. Dipping a cotton bud in the odorless thinner and then just wipe the spot clean by wetting it with thinner and picking up the paint with the dry side of the swab. It all looked okay and doable, no strange reactions of the oil thinner on the windows. My self-esteem has come on the right temperature to go for the real job now. The final weathering coat. Robby! At first I wanted to start by applying whites. This is such an important color in weathering, I noticed. Somehow whites are often missed when judging reference photos on real life weathering, but I've seen examples where the white color make the weathering totally come alive. It is also a safe color to start with. I mean, starting with black oil paint seemed a bit more daunting to me. The thing with oil paints is, you might not be able to get it on the car in the right way you want it at once, but because it has such long drying times, you have at least about 12 hours to correct your work. When using odorless thinner, your paint job is easily changed, sometimes a bit more than hoped for. So many times it is just a back and forth of adding paint and removing or thinning it by using thinner. And that's no problem, it just takes time and a bit of nerve. I couldn't wait with working on the roof. Because it is white, everything you add will be mighty visible. I wanted to have some algae on it and in such a way that it would have more on one side than the other. The car is going to end up in a diorama which you don't know anything about yet. One side of the car will be quite close to a wall that is partially overgrown with a Hedera plant, and with plants in the neighborhood, algae is more likely to appear. By using a soft, big brush, I am able to spread the paint randomly. Did you know that algae is very much liked by snails, I've seen this on multiple occasions where snail trails were eaten out of an algae layer on a rooftop of a car. I was really determined to recreate that, but then I ran into a limitation of the thinner. The paintwork is all soft now. I wanted to make snail trails, but this is way too dangerous. Because I just ripped the paint off. I mean all of the paint, also the acrylic paint. Next up was the bonnet that got the dotting treatment as well. Note that on the left are more green dots than on the right. This is for the same reason as for the roof. I even added more green dots later on as I thought there wasn't enough there. Some extra on the usual places like under the front window. The black dots will turn into tree sap residue, a dark mold-like pattern you often see when cars are parked near trees or bushes. Robby! Okay, there is no evasion possible anymore. I have to do the windows. And come on, I've practiced on the Jag windows, right? I came across this picture of a Mini with a nice algae pattern on its front screen and I chose to replicate it. So there you go, virginal windscreen. You will never be the same. Recreating the pattern on the photo took quite some time, and as I told you, working with oils gives you just that. But you have to have patience and the will to accomplish a look that is convincing. So the back and forth game is on once again with applying dots and thinning them down with the odorless thinner. And by doing so you gain a little more trust in your skills bit by bit. I'm quite pleased with the result, which isn't a modest piece of weathering really. I mean, you can't miss it, can you? That's what troubles me sometimes with this project. Am I not going too far, bringing literally every panel on the Mini in a super worked state? The gutters got a bit more algae too, as it is a place where dirt and stuff accumulates easily. Then off to the right hand side of the Mini, blobbing it with starship filth and olive green. After spreading this out, I applied black for making those tree sap patterns I did on the bonnet. Some extra algae on the suspicious places, and this side is done too. For the moment at least. The rear lights look brand new, and that can't be on this car. Colored lights tend to fade away by sunlight, which is best replicated by adding a thin layer of white in my opinion. Did you know you can remove the dots with MIG oil brushers? Nah, you can't. And why should you? The backside also got those tree sap spots. The Mini now looks shiny as dogs' droppings in moonlight. But this is just a freshly applied thinner which will evaporate. The final look will be very matte, as you will see in a moment. The tank cap on the left is gone and I had this jar from the MIG engine, fuel and oil series. Hence I made this spilled fuel trail running over the seam line. This is an enamel paint, so don't confuse it with the oils as it uses a different thinner and it dries quicker. The right side of the back got a bit more olive green and also the right hand side of the car received an extra amount. And why not algae-fy the loose rim on the same go? I made the dust layer a bit stronger on the left hand side and here I made the black spots too. This time I dipped my brush in the oil brusher brush to pick up a little bit of paint in order to place a black dot at the top of the black streak. Doing it like this gives me more control and the look is a bit more realistic. Time to weather the last side of the Mini, the front. I started by dulling down the headlights and the indicator light with MIG oil brusher white. Then the usual dark grey and green blobbing as I've done this on the entire car. The number plate gets a bit more olive green as it will be close to the grass and weeds. I gave the bonnet another layer of dirt before I applied the wipers. They got a touch of starship filth and olive green and then weathering could be done. But the weathering wasn't completely done, you know me, since I wanted to add some highlights by using white oil paint. This is done to give the model a bit more depth. It is wise to be subtle as it has a bleaching effect, so to say. It makes previous weathering a bit more pale. I also put on some whites on the top of the hinges for the same reason, dipping my paintbrush in the all brushes brush for more precise application. This is an interesting stage of weathering too, applying moss. The gutters on the roof on the wall side, you know, the Mini will be close to an overgrown wall, are likely to have some of that. Funny how those small furry patches add to realism too. The Mini will be in a muddy field, and while getting there, splashes on the bodywork are inevitable. I took a cocktail stick I used earlier on to splatter the paint onto the desired spots. It is advisable to do this first on a dummy model to get a feeling for the paint and how it splashes. To me it seemed obvious splatter will be seen behind all wheels of the car. And to be complete, I added a fair amount on the underside. Never to be seen again maybe, but you and I know they are there. Do you remember the pristine look of the Mini in the first video? All white plastic and no paint on it? Since then it got 12 layers sprayed, painted, washed and weathered on it. It started with the primer coat, which you can't do without. Then the Dark Rust coat, which was followed by a coat of matte varnish to protect it. Then a layer of chipping medium was blobbed on. And then a coat of light rust was hosed on a Mini. After chipping of the rust, a matte varnish layer was applied to seal it, followed by another layer of chipping medium. Then the body color was gunned on the Mini, followed by yet another layer of matte varnish to seal it when it was chipped. After that, the rust weathering layers were painted on, and then I took some artistic liberty by painting on several graffiti pieces. And then the final weathering coat, or should I say coats, were applied as you just saw. It is a lot dirtier than when this video started. I hope you like what you see, please let me know in the comments. And this look of the Mini will make much more sense when it is placed in its natural habitat. A small field with grass, weeds, a wall and a piece of pavement and road. Make sure you are subscribed to miss nothing of this journey. Check out my Patreon and help making this channel possible. And remember, don't be sobby, build a car model kit and watch Hobby Robby!
Watch this channel!